Greetings, my name is Julie and I am 42 years old. Reflecting on a particularly challenging period in my life, it all started when I decided to end my marriage to Thomas. It became painfully evident that we were simply not right for each other. Thomas's behavior, often childish and immature, frayed my nerves. The thought of being tied to him for life felt more like a punishment than a partnership. But the troubles in my marriage weren't solely caused by Thomas. His mother, Martha, significantly contributed to my distress. From the outset, she made it clear that I would never meet her lofty standards for her son. Her relentless criticisms and subtle undermining eroded my confidence, making me feel like an outsider in my own home. I recall numerous occasions when Thomas's lack of maturity combined with Martha's meddling turned our relationship into turmoil. There were evenings I returned home from work longing for tranquility, only to find Thomas lost in his video games, completely ignoring both me and our shared responsibilities. Any attempt to discuss my frustrations was met with indifference. "I've had a tough day, Thomas. Could you help out with some chores?" His typical response was dismissive. "Later, I'm in the middle of this game." The disregard wasn't limited to daily responsibilities. He even forgot our anniversary, downplaying it when confronted. "It's just a date. We can celebrate some other time," he said nonchalantly. Another time, he invited his overbearing mother over without telling me, hoping for a peaceful weekend that instead turned into an unwanted family visit. "She's my mom, Julie. She can come whenever she wants. Don't be uptight." And when it came to financial planning, discussing any form of budgeting or savings with Thomas was akin to talking to a child. "You worry too much. Let's just enjoy our money. We'll figure it out later," he'd argue. These examples merely scratched the surface of the deep-seated issues in our marriage, where my concerns were routinely ignored and my feelings continually invalidated. My needs were routinely disregarded in our marriage, making it painfully obvious that Thomas's immaturity and lack of concern were hurdles too high to overcome. During family gatherings, Martha found joy in diminishing me. She never missed a chance to criticize my appearance, my career, and even my culinary efforts in front of everyone, delighting in the discomfort she caused. For instance, one evening after I had spent hours cooking, I hoped for some appreciation. "Martha, I spent hours preparing this meal for the family. I hope you enjoy it." Her reply was sharp. "Well, let's see if it's even edible. I can't trust your cooking," she scoffed. Another time, I was excited about a new dress for an event. "Martha, I found this beautiful dress that I think would look great on me." Her response was cutting. "Oh, sweetie, that dress is far too revealing for someone your age. You don't want to embarrass yourself, do you?" Her barbs didn't stop there. When I tried to assert my parenting style, she was dismissive. "Martha, I would appreciate it if you didn't criticize my parenting decisions. I know what's best for my children." She retorted, "Clearly you don't, or you wouldn't be making such foolish choices. Honestly, what is wrong with you?" When I shared my efforts to lead a healthier lifestyle, hoping for support, she belittled them. "Oh, please, you're wasting your time with all that exercise and dieting. You'll never look as good as me." And her justification was blunt whenever I requested her to stop making snide remarks about me to others. "I'm just telling the truth, dear. People should know what they're dealing with when it comes to you." Martha's constant belittlements and disparaging remarks were a perpetual source of stress and deeply impacted any positive aspects of my relationship with Thomas. The breaking point was realizing I deserved more than this toxic dynamic. I made the difficult but necessary decision to file for divorce, seeking liberation from the relentless emotional turmoil. In court, I laid bare the irreconcilable differences and the negative impact of this marriage on my well-being. As the proceedings concluded and I began to feel the burden lift, Martha, my ex-mother-in-law, could hardly hide her pleasure. She jumped up, a twisted smile of victory on her face, reveling in the dissolution of our marriage. Her delight in my moment of supposed defeat was as blatant as it was unsettling. Finally free from the bonds of a troubled marriage, I stood in the courtroom as Martha, my ex-mother-in-law, triumphantly proclaimed that she had won her son back. "I've won! I finally won!" Her declaration, soaked in delight, hung heavily in the air. A surge of anger and indignation washed over me. How could she relish in my pain, celebrating the end of my marriage as her victory? I couldn't hold back my fury. With my voice steeped in contempt, I confronted her, exposing her as the miserable and pathetic person she was. But instead of faltering under the harshness of my words, Martha only laughed. Her laughter, cold and mocking, echoed through the courtroom, a cruel soundtrack to the close of a chapter that had brought me nothing but distress. It was a stark reminder that some people relish in the downfall of others, their joy twisted by their bitterness. Her laughter only fueled my resolve to move beyond the toxicity that had ensnared me. As I walked out of that courtroom, leaving behind the ruins of a failed marriage and a toxic relationship, I pledged to reclaim my life and pursue the happiness that had long eluded me. Martha's mocking joy underscored the battles I had endured and the inner strength I had discovered. No longer would I let the judgment of others or the cruelty of those determined to belittle me define my worth. I was determined to rise above the bitterness, to embrace the freedom that lay before me. With each step, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery and healing, intent on building a life that reflected my true value and worth. The road ahead was filled with uncertainty, but I approached it with unwavering resolve. The path to happiness might not be straightforward, but the struggles and hardships I had faced had forged a resilience within me. It was time to leave the drama, the toxicity, and the emotional scars behind and step into a future brimming with hope, self-love, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Unfortunately, the story doesn't end here. As it turns out, when Martha gloated about her victory, she expected to gain something tangible, something she believed she had finally secured. But as fate would have it, she was mistaken. She thought she would inherit a coveted family heirloom, but it was never meant to be hers. Martha had long coveted a stunning heirloom from my family, the diamond orchid necklace. This piece, an exquisite design passed down through generations, was estimated to be worth millions due to its rarity and craftsmanship. Whenever Martha saw the necklace, her eyes lit up with unmistakable greed. But throughout my marriage to Thomas, it remained tantalizingly out of her reach. Throughout our years together, Martha frequently suggested we should sell the necklace and use the proceeds for more practical purposes. Each time, I firmly rejected her idea, explaining that the necklace was not only valuable but held profound sentimental significance as a pivotal part of my family's legacy. Despite her persistent attempts to sway my decision, I was unwavering in my resolve to keep the necklace within my family. After the divorce was finalized, Martha harbored the expectation that she might somehow gain from the necklace's value, believing she could claim a share that would satisfy her materialistic desires. However, she was unaware of the plans I had in mind. A month had passed since the divorce when, unexpectedly, I heard a familiar knock at my door. Opening it, I found Martha, her face streaked with tears, her voice trembling. "Julie, please, I need to talk to you," she pleaded. Despite my mixed feelings, curiosity tinged with a reluctant sympathy, I let her in from the cold. Once settled in the living room, I encouraged her to share what was on her mind. Through her sobs, Martha struggled to explain, revealing the crumbling of her carefully laid plans. "My plan? It failed, Julie. I thought I'd finally have what I wanted, but everything has gone wrong." With a hint of skepticism, I pressed her for details, intrigued by her apparent defeat. What plan are you talking about, Martha? And why are you so upset? Taking a deep breath, Martha tried to compose herself. I thought that after the divorce, Thomas would be entitled to half of the heirloom's value, she confessed. Her scheme had hinged on manipulating her son to secure a piece of my family's treasure, a plan now clearly in ruins. I thought I had triumphed, but then Thomas dropped a bombshell that shattered all my hopes. Curiosity tinged with a dose of satisfaction, I leaned in closer, encouraging Martha to spill the details. So, what did Thomas reveal, Martha? I'm listening. Wiping away her tears, her voice a blend of regret and disbelief, Martha confessed, he told me that he had forgotten to mention a prenuptial agreement he signed before we got married. It clearly stated that the heirloom, along with all your money, was completely off limits. I never stood a chance. I couldn't help but burst into laughter, a mix of relief and vindication coursing through me. Oh, Martha, you have no idea how much I anticipated this moment. I knew all along that your manipulative schemes would unravel. Martha's face turned a mix of embarrassment and anger. You knew all along and still let me believe I had won? How could you? Leaning back in my chair, a sense of triumph radiating from within, I replied with a wry smile, Oh, Martha, I didn't let you believe anything. You saw what you wanted to see, blinded by your greed. I knew the truth would eventually come out. As the reality of her folly sank in, Martha's tears morphed into a mix of frustration and regret. She had played her hand, and it had failed spectacularly, leaving her with nothing. I can't believe you signed that prenup, Julie. I was hoping to at least get some of your money after the divorce. Martha, I signed the prenup exactly for situations like this. I anticipated a time when someone might try to take what's rightfully mine. You were never really about being a good wife, were you? How could you do this? This isn't about being a good wife, Martha. It's about protecting myself and my assets from manipulative people like you. I had the foresight to secure my future, I explained, unapologetic. But I need the money, Julie. I'm desperate, Martha pleaded, her desperation evident. That's not my problem, Martha. You made your choices, and now you have to deal with the consequences. It's time for you to leave my house. You're so cruel and selfish, Julie. I'm not the one who tried to deceive and manipulate for personal gain, Martha. You reap what you sow. Now please leave. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence, punctuated only by Martha's sobs. The weight of her failed schemes filled the space, a stark reminder of the consequences of her actions. As the reality of her situation dawned on her, Martha was hit with the painful truth that her greed and deceit had left her with nothing. Despite her predicament, I stood firm, resolute in defending my rights and protecting what was rightfully mine. My experiences have taught me that trust and love should not blind one to the potential for betrayal. As Martha prepared to leave, her expression was a blend of anger and resignation, the bitterness of her choices hanging heavy in the air. With a resentful tone, she spat out, "Heartless! You call me heartless, Martha? Reflect on how you've treated me throughout my marriage to Thomas. You were the one who was vindictive, cruel, and manipulative," I retorted. "You're exaggerating, Julie. I never treated you badly," she claimed defensively. "Oh, really? Shall I remind you how you purposefully excluded me from family events, belittled my achievements, and spread rumors about me? You seem to relish my distress. I did no such thing. You're just trying to paint me as the villain," Martha protested. "Enough of your lies and manipulation. Leave my house now or I will call the police," I declared, giving her an ultimatum. "Please, Julie, just give me some money. I need it," she pleaded desperately. "You have 50 seconds to leave my property. This is your last chance," I insisted firmly. "You can't do this to me, Julie. I'm family." "Family doesn't treat each other the way you've treated me. Good riddance, Martha." As the seconds ticked down, Martha's face was a mixture of anger, disbelief, and defeat. Realizing that her manipulative tactics had failed, She turned and walked towards the door. The tension in the air was palpable as she exited, leaving behind a trail of regrets and facing the consequences of her actions. Feeling a blend of relief and liberation, I stood tall. I had cut ties with toxicity and reclaimed my independence. The next day, as if on cue, another figure from my past emerged, seeking reconciliation. "What do you want, Thomas?" I asked, wary. "Julie, I need your help. I'm in a tough spot right now and was hoping—" "Save it, Thomas. I don't want to hear your excuses. You dared to call instead of facing me like a man. How cowardly can you be?" "I thought it would be better this way, Julie. Please, just hear me out." "All right, Thomas, I'm listening," I said, bracing myself for what was to come. "Why don't you start by explaining how you constantly belittled my ambitions, mocked my dreams, and made me feel like I was never good enough? Do you even remember any of that?" "I don't know what you're talking about, Julie. Sure, we had our disagreements, but—" "Disagreements? Is that what you call it?" I interrupted. "I call it emotional abuse. You tried to undermine me at every opportunity, hoping to break my spirit. Well, guess what? I'm done with it. I deserve better. Julie, please, I'm sorry for everything. I'm in a tough spot right now, and I thought maybe—" "It's funny, Thomas," I continued, cutting him off. "You agreed to the prenup, yet here you are, begging and sniveling. Didn't you know what you were signing? Or did you just assume you'd change my mind later?" "I didn't fully understand it back then. I just knew that I loved you," Thomas stammered. "Cut the crap, Thomas. You always had an angle. Now you're out of options," I said sharply. "Julie, I don't know what to say. Yeah, I figured as much. You've always been at a loss for words when it matters. Listen to me, Thomas. This is the last time I'll say this. If you try to contact me again, I will get a restraining order. Do you understand?" "But Julie—" "No, Thomas, it's over. Goodbye." With that, I hung up the phone and proceeded to delete his number. I was finally free from both him and Martha, and the relief was palpable. As I sat reflecting on the journey I've traveled since the end of my tumultuous marriage, a profound sense of contentment washed over me. I found myself in a far better place, both mentally and emotionally. It felt as if a heavy weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and I could breathe freely again. Life had taken some unexpected turns, but now I found myself relishing the joys and pleasures it had to offer. Embracing my newfound independence, I ventured back into the dating world. Meeting new people and experiencing the excitement of romantic connections was exhilarating. Throughout it all, I learned to value my worth and never settle for anything less than the love and respect I deserved. In addition to the thrill of new relationships, I found solace and empowerment in sharing my story. The journey I endured during my marriage inspired me to write a book, a memoir recounting the trials and tribulations of my past. It is a testament to the strength I discovered within myself, a story of overcoming adversity and finding empowerment in the aftermath of a challenging life chapter. I've unearthed a profound strength within myself, a beacon of hope that I'm compelled to share with others who have walked similar rugged paths. My writing endeavors to highlight the critical importance of self-love and the boldness necessary to escape the clutches of damaging relationships. As I move forward, the distant rumblings of discontent from my ex-husband and former mother-in-law reach me. Their envy unmistakable as they observe my blossoming success and well-being from afar. Their miscalculation of my inner fortitude has left them to contend with the repercussions of their actions. As I've put distance between their toxicity and my new life, their efforts to sully my reputation persist. Martha and Thomas have launched futile attempts to discredit me, aiming to bring me down to their level of despair. Yet I remain unshaken and undeterred. Firm in my resolve, I am taking legal action to counter their defamatory statements. Their provocations serve only to fuel my resolve to see justice done. This new chapter of my life is steeped in gratitude for the resilience I've discovered within and the solid support system surrounding me. Encircled by friends and family who uplift and inspire, they have cheered on my transformation and motivated me to continue reaching for greater heights. From the ruins of a shattered marriage, I have emerged not only unscathed but fortified, enlightened about my worth, and more determined than ever to live freely and fully. This journey, though fraught with challenges, has catapulted me into a realm of self-empowerment and authenticity. My life's narrative is no longer defined by the shadows of pain, but illuminated by the triumphs of overcoming and thriving. Having moved past the darkness, I now bask in the light of promising new beginnings. As I pen the ongoing chapters of my life, I approach each page with renewed purpose, seizing the happiness that had previously eluded me. Every word I craft is a step toward reclaiming my voice, my power, and my essence. My quest for revenge was never about stooping to their level, but about ascending beyond, showcasing the robustness and elegance inherent in my spirit. I am Julie, reborn from adversity, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, ready to soar to unprecedented heights, leaving the remnants of my past well behind in the dust.